Don't do it. Do not buy a home here in Boise, Idaho in 2024 unless you're able to handle these 10 things. In this video, I'm going to show you why buying a home in Boise, Idaho in 2024 could be the worst decision you'll ever make. Number 5 is going to shock you. So let's talk about these 10 things and see if you end up bouncing out of the Boise, Idaho market.
I got it, I'm gone.
Number 1, you can't afford it. Boise, Idaho has exploded in value here since it came on the map 3 or 4 years ago. And the price of getting homes in $300,000 with a half acre, with a creek running in your backyard is long gone. Now you're competing for land with developers, investors, and people who see that Idaho is exploding and growing, and it's no longer going to be that quaint little city that you rarely hear of unless you're passing through or ordering buckloads of potatoes. So Boise, Idaho is just not affordable anymore here in 2024. So I talk to a lot of people who are moving or want to move to Idaho, and they say, Greg, here's our budget and here's what we're hoping for. Half acre, 1 acre, 2 acres, a mini farm or working farm, whatever. And unfortunately in their budget, it's just not doable. You got to have some green in order to get that green pasture.
Wow, just wow.
If you know what I mean. So I'll go into the housing price and all that in just a little bit later on this video, but I just kind of want to set up. It's expensive. So if you think you're going to roll in here and just flex your, budget of, $400,000 for 5 acres in downtown Boise, Idaho, or around Boise, Idaho, it's just not going to happen. So with the population growth here in Boise, Idaho, we still have a very strong job market. We have a lot of companies that are moving here to the Boise, Idaho area because it's cheap for them compared to other cities to buy land and to build. There's a lot of incentives for companies to move here and to build infrastructure and all of that. So with the job market here in Boise, it's actually really good. We have a lot of tech, we have a lot of ag, we got a lot of different things going on, and with the airport relatively close and easy to get in and out of, it brings a lot of people in and out of Boise who are looking to start things up and get things rolling. So with all this demand, all this new growth, all of this happening, our average price here in the Boise area for a beautiful home is going to be about mid 500,000. So between 536 to 554 on average, depends on which county you buy in. It's still kind of expensive. People are a little shocked when they move here or when they start looking at houses here, they're like, wow, I didn't realize how expensive it was going to be. And then when they start really kind of going after what they want, they're like, the budget's going to go up a little bit even more from that. But on average, you're in the mid 500s. So that doesn't mean that's the price for every home. Obviously, you can get a home in the 300s and you can get a home in the multi-millions. So on average, we're right in the middle there. There's just such a good demand and good market. People asked me yesterday, I was at an appointment getting ready to list someone's house, and they said, Greg, how's the market? I'm like, gosh, we only have 2 months of inventory in the entire Treasure Valley. So if no other homes come on the market, in 60 days, there would be no houses available. So the demand is still there. It's still a seller's market, which a lot of people are still like, wait a second. But a lot of people who are coming in from other markets, California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, those West Coast, even Texas right now, they're still able to sell their homes very quickly in order to get here, which kind of speeds things up. It's kind of like crazy because everything you're hearing is like, oh, the interest rates are so high, the housing market's on the fringe, it might dump, but it's not. It's healthy. It's going, bonkers in a way for cost of living, cost of inflation, which we'll get to later on this video. So all in all, the market here in Boise, Idaho is really good. Here at the Go Idaho team, we've helped hundreds of families relocate here to the Treasure Valley. We want to help you out, so don't hesitate to reach out, pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email so we can put a game plan together that's right for you. Speaking of quality of life, that brings me to reason number 2 that you might just not want to consider Boise, Idaho in 2024. The secret's out. People are moving here, therefore it's a lot more crowded than maybe what you're used to. Now, hold on. Let's pump the brakes a little bit when I talk about being too crowded, because if you're coming from Southern California, Northern California, Bay Area, Portland, Oregon, Seattle area, Phoenix, Denver, all those places are a lot bigger than Boise, Idaho. There's just a lot more people. And so coming to Boise, Idaho, you're gonna be like, Greg, are you kidding me? There's nothing here. It takes 15 minutes to go anywhere in the valley. People, when they get here, they're like, oh my gosh, this is bliss, but then after you've been here for a while, you start to notice like, wait a second, that road is a little bit more busier today than it was last year at this time or whatever. So just, you get accustomed to not very many people, and then all of a sudden you're used to it, and now there's more traffic, and you're just like, especially the locals right now. So the locals are like going nuts because they're like, I remember when that was a field, you know, back over there. But people coming here, they're just like, this is amazing. So it kind of jumps into, you know, the quality of life of what you're experiencing, you know, the low crime, all that stuff kind of factors into the population. Speaking of crime, Boise, Idaho, Meridian, Idaho has a very low crime rate. Now, I'm not saying crime doesn't happen, but if you're looking on the national scale of how you rate crime, Boise, Idaho is probably extremely low on that scale. And I think the reason why, for me personally, is we allow you to carry. It's open carry here, so you don't know who's packing, you don't know what you're going to run into. I think that helps a community. I think, you know, there's a lot of things that go into being able to carry a firearm and protect yourself and protect your family. So I think that, and just being that there's just not a lot of infrastructure, we don't have a lot of, you know, bus systems, we don't have a lot of trains going back and forth, so it kind of is a little bit remote in that aspect. Again, I'm not saying crime doesn't happen, it can happen anywhere, it does happen here, but it's just extremely low compared to other major cities. Another reason why a lot of people are moving here is because of the family values. There's a lot of religion here. A lot of people are coming here because they have faith and they want to raise their families in a faith-based home and a faith-based community. Here in Idaho, I think it's pretty much Christian-based across the board, which is great. You know, if you want to bring your family up here, or if maybe your family's already raised, but you still like those values, you're going to find them here in that Treasure Valley area. There's just a lot of that, and it just makes for better people all around. Now, there's always some sour apples in the batch, sour apples in the bunch, but you'll really, in general, have nice people who genuinely want to say hello to you because that's something that their faith teaches them. So when you talk about population growth, that's one of the reasons why people are moving here, is because you get the stuff I mentioned before, but you also have a place that you can instill values in your kids and in your families and your grandkids. So with that family coming to Idaho, you have tons of recreation. I mean, the whole state is covered in outdoor recreation, outdoor fun. There's great cultural centers here. There's great museums. There's the play. There's ballet. There's opera. There's comedians who roll in. There is great opportunity for you to experience a lot of things here in Boise, Idaho, and a lot of it's free. A lot of the outdoor recreation is free. When you move here to Idaho, you get a state parks pass on your that you can put on your car. It's $20 for 2 years and gets you into every Idaho state park for free. So there's just opportunities for you to pack up the kids or pack up the cooler and head up to the mountains for the day or a half day and experience something that's so unique to Idaho that these other states don't offer. You really can get out there and try new things. There's a great website for meetups where, you know, if you put in your interest and you want to learn how to sew, or you want to learn how to hike, or you want to learn how to paddleboard, or you want to do yoga on a paddleboard, you can find a group of people here that'll teach you, and generally there's zero cost because it's just people who have that passion to do the same thing that you're wanting to do, and so they just have a way of getting together and making it happen. So what Idaho has, I mean, you have skiing at Bogus Basin, you have tubing at Bogus Basin, you have snow tubing at Gateway Park in Eagle, you have mountain biking, you have ATV off-roading, you have floating the Boise River, which is a huge thing here in the summertime, where you just go down the river for a 2-hour float right down Old Boise State Campus right in the heart of Boise. And that is just a fun thing because in the summer it gets hot here, and so that's a great place to cool off. There's fly fishing. There's just so much outdoor recreation that you can do literally from your backyard. Another reason why the population is growing so much is because you have good education here in the Boise area. You can go to the public route, which has great schools. You can go private. You could go at home. You can do semi-private, charter schools. There's options for you as a parent to choose how you want your kids' education to go, and you can kind of form that on your own or with the help of the school district. And there are opportunities also in high school for those kids to get their EMT license. They can get into the culinary program. They can get into auto mechanic. So many options like that on top of just your formal education that you can really dive into. As a parent, being able to support your kid in their interest and hobby is what Idaho's all about. So if you don't want to move to where all the cool kids are moving to here in the Boise, Idaho area, maybe it's just not for you. All right, so that brings me to number 3. It's the weather. Right now, it's time of recording, it's the middle of winter. We're in January of 2024 and it's freezing. There's no snow on the ground, but as far as snow accumulation generally happens, we do get snow and it does stick around, but generally it melts off and we don't get piles and piles and piles of snow. So that's a good thing. Your average temperature is going to be like in the 30s to 40s, kind of as a high, and then at night it's going to drop down to the teens. So you just kind of got to be prepared for that. Get a little extra jacket, puffy jacket, or anything like that if you're going to be out and about. Summertime, it gets hot here. So it's kind of like it warms up in May and come August, we're in the hundreds. So it does warm up quite a bit. So if you're like, I can't handle the heat or maybe just wipes you out, I don't know if Idaho's going to be a good fit for you because it does get hot. It's a different type of hot. It's more humid, it's more dry than humid, and that's one thing that a lot of people notice too. So the temperature in the summer is going to get you into triple digits, but generally it's going to be in the mid to high 90s. Fall here in Idaho is absolutely the most beautiful time of the year. The colors are changing, the temperatures cool down to the 60s, 70s, low 80s sometimes, and you really have nice breezes come through. It's one of the most magical times here in Boise is the fall. The trees are just gorgeous and it really speaks to a lot of people. So when they come here, they're just blown away. But you do have a beautiful, beautiful fall. Spring comes really quick after winter. So right after winter, you know, kind of that March time frame, winter's kind of wrapping up and you know, it's growing season. So spring comes soon, and so you'll get temperatures in the 60s. Really things will start to thaw out and warm up. You'll start to see the trees starting to bloom. You do get rain in the springtime here, which is great. We love that for the water and the reservoirs and the crops. But springtime is just usually from March to May-ish, so it's really quick, but it's a beautiful time. So if you don't want all 4 seasons, especially that cold or that extreme heat in August, maybe Idaho just is not the spot for you. All right, the 4th reason why you might just want to skip Boise altogether is there's no professional sports teams. Nothing. The biggest thing we have right now is Boise State football, the Broncos. So if that's like not your team or you can't get behind that, you do have some other options. You have a minor league baseball team, the Boise Hawks, and you have some great hockey with the Idaho Steelheads. Both venues are great and centrally located. The hockey rink is in downtown across from a great restaurant, or right in the restaurant row, the warehouse. But if sports is your thing and you love going to professional sports and the athletes and all that stuff, you like to be around that stuff, you're going to be disappointed unless you can become a Bronco Nation fan and just live it up, because come football season here, it's Broncos, and you can get all the college fun downtown at the Boise State Stadium. It's just a lot of fun, but sports teams are lacking here. No MLS, nothing. So comment down below, what's your favorite sports team? Mine, I gotta go the Ducks. All right, and here it is, number 5. I told you it's gonna be a shocker, so hang on tight for this one. Number 5, Boise is purple. It's a mix. It's red and blue, but Boise proper is liberal. We have a liberal mayor who, you know, in some areas of the town you can kind of see that. But in all honesty, Boise is that purplish vibe. Outside of Boise, you kind of lean more into those conservative areas. In Boise, you have concealed carry. All the towns here you can carry, and that's what makes it a little unique here. And if you're coming from the larger cities like Portland, San Francisco, LA, Seattle, and you come see Boise, Idaho, you're gonna be like, what is he talking about? This isn't liberal at all. But if you're coming from outside of Boise, Idaho, say coming from Star or Eastern Idaho, and you come into Boise, you're like, whoa, this is too much. So Boise, Idaho really kind of is that purplish area in that proper. But outside, you have really right-leaning conservative folks moving out there. You have a lot of conservative lawmakers who want to protect some of the amendments and the Constitution as much as they can. So getting outside that Boise proper, you're going to find a lot of conservative, a lot of red. So you might not think that when you think of Idaho. You might just think, oh, they're just a bunch of hillbillies who are waving that "Don't tread on me" flag and the American flag. Well, really, it's not that. It's just more of a mix. But people who are moving to Boise from states like California, Oregon, Washington, Seattle, Arizona, they are registering as more conservative. So you have more people coming from liberal areas or states in general. It doesn't mean they are more liberal, they're just more conservative, and so they're registering as conservative voters. So it's going to be interesting to see how Boise kind of shapes up over the next few years as far as the politics go, but we'll see, because a lot of people who are moving here, they don't want it to turn into the cities they moved from. Okay, if you made it this far in this video and you're just thinking, man, I might be just a perfect candidate to move to Boise, Idaho, then give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Let's talk about your goals, your hopes and wishes, and see how we can help shape that into a game plan that's right for you, so that when you come out, we can kind of, help you find neighborhoods and homes that really kind of speak to you and your family, your goals, visions, and dreams here in Idaho. In Boise, there's just one airport, which makes this interesting. With so many people moving to the Treasure Valley and family and friends coming to visit the Treasure Valley, it's pretty easy to get in and out of at the moment. At the time of recording this video, they're just about done building an additional structure, parking structure, that will accommodate 1,100 more cars, doubling the current capacity right now for the parking structure, which makes sense because with so many people coming in and out and people wanting to visit and go see family, they kind of need that additional space to park a car. However, it is so easy to pick up and drop off from the Boise airport. It is not crowded at all, unless it's the holidays, of course, but that's every airport in America and around the world. But right now, it's just simple and easy to access, easy to get to. The downside, honestly, is there's not a lot of direct flights. So in order to, let's just say you want to go back east, you're going to have to either connect in Seattle, Portland, and then take your flight over, or fly to Denver, then take a connecting flight. So the connections can be a drag. I've helped a lot of people relocate here who do that commuting for work still, and when I see them, I always ask them, how's that commute going? They're like, oh, I wish it was a direct flight. Or I do miss having that airport home because I could just be there and back, and so with the additional connecting flight, it does make it a little bit of a chore. So if you're worried about it being too crowded in the future with all the population growth, or you just hate the connecting flights, maybe Boise, Idaho is not the place for you. So as far as diversity goes here in Boise, Idaho, there's just not a lot of diversity. The numbers I'm going to read to you right now came directly from the City of Boise's website. So let's go through those right now. The City of Boise is predominantly white at 82.1%, 4.4% Hispanic, 3.38% Asian, and 1.55% Black. So if you're moving from an area, LA, Bay Area, larger populated cities, Portland area, you're probably used to having a lot of diversity, which is great. I love diversity. I love that everyone comes from different backgrounds, and I appreciate that. Coming to Idaho, you don't really feel that discrimination that maybe you hear about or see in other areas, because I think people are more used to having more diversity in other areas. So when they come to Idaho, it's like, oh, okay, let's just roll. So they see someone with a different ethnic background. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? All of that stuff. So it really doesn't affect anything or anyone here in Idaho. You're not going to see racism. You're not going to see discrimination. Not saying that does not exist. I'm sure it does. I just don't know about it. But all across the board here in Idaho, it just isn't a topic that ever comes up. So I think if you're looking for a diverse community where you just have a lot of cultural things going on, maybe Idaho and Boise is not the place for that. So with a lack of diversity and cultural backgrounds comes a lack of food choices here in the Treasure Valley. Now, a lot of people moving here from California, all you hear about them complain about is a lack of food.
Maybe I am not meant for these duties.
There's no good restaurants. There's nothing here. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Idaho was fine. We've been fine. Pack a lunch, go hike and get your heart rate up and eat your sandwich.
I love that, dude.
You don't need to roll in and wonder where the best joint is because that's the only thing to do. There's so much more to do than just to go to a restaurant. So, but there is a lack of food options, I guess, here in the Treasure Valley that a lot of people who move here complain about. You might be wondering where the best Chinese restaurant is. You might be wondering where the best Mexican restaurant is. There's a lot of different places, a lot of new places opening up, and everyone's just trying these places out to try and figure out who has the best and who has good food. So here at the Boise Idaho team, we love our food. We have yet to really identify who has the best Chinese restaurant here in the Treasure Valley. There's a mix amongst us of who has the best Mexican. You'll have to see some other videos for that. But it's kind of fun for us to kind of go out and try these places because we're all coming from different areas and everyone has these different expectations. So it is kind of fun to see and try these restaurants because it's almost like a hunt for the best of the best. What's cool though in downtown is we have the Basque Block, which we have a ton of Basque, which is a phenomenal cultural in and of itself, and it's an amazing story as to why and how they settled here in Idaho. But I love the Basque. The food downtown at the Basque Block is really good food. They have an event every year, the Basque Festival, which goes on, which is just great, outstanding cultural celebration of the Basque. So Idaho has that. Boise, Idaho specifically has a really big Basque population, and they honor that in downtown with the Basque Block. Speaking of culture, diversity, people, that brings us to number 9. Idaho and Boise is full of really nice people, genuinely nice people who really genuinely care, and when they say hello to you or smile, they're not like, it's not a creepy thing. Like people just are like, hey, how was your day? Or I'll take your grocery cart, you know, stuff like that. So a lot of people who are moving to Idaho, it's a little bit of a culture shock when people smile at them or say hello, or they're on a walk and they stop to pet the dog just because that's normal here. But coming from another city where that has kind of gone away, it's kind of interesting and kind of a different take. And it takes some time to get used to. So if you're like a real hardcore introvert and you have no desire to talk or meet anyone or be looked at or smiled at, then Boise, Idaho is definitely not the place for you to move to because people want to get to know you, they want to smile at you, and they want to talk to you and see how you're doing. All right, number 10, different home issues than maybe you're used to. If you're coming from a state, a warmer state like California, or a wetter state like Oregon or Washington, or a dry state like Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, you're gonna have some different issues going on here with your home than you're used to, or maybe you haven't heard of before. That's gonna be brand new to you. So in Idaho, we have freezing weather. So one thing that you have to do every winter is make sure you blow out your sprinklers. And there's two reasons for that. One, it's gonna cause those sprinkling system to work when you fire them on in the springtime, but it's also cost effective because if you break a sprinkler head or a pipe, you're going to have to trench that out and replace that whole sprinkler line and figure out where that broke. So that's something you don't want to do. The other thing that you're going to want to do in the wintertime is close those vents around the house so the cold air isn't going on and you're not running your heating bill all winter wondering, why is this house so cold? Close those vents up, protects it, insulates it, and it's more cost effective that way too. In the summertime, we have a lot of sprinklers going on, we have great water flow, but sometimes you can overwater. Depending on where you live in the valley, some have more clay type soil, so some people will overwater and then the water will pool up and kind of seep underneath the house, and then you gotta get a sump pump to get that water out. Other times you just could overwater and you don't need a lot of water going on your sprinkler system. Some people get a little over ambitious because it's so cheap to water and they just want this green lawn, but then they have just like this sponge of water and they can never walk on a lawn. So you just got to be aware of that, and your neighbors are going to be the best source for that information. So in the wintertime, when it does snowfall, you are responsible for shoveling your sidewalk. The city doesn't come around and do that. That's your responsibility. If someone was to fall or slip, it's technically they could come after you for not having a clean sidewalk. So you do have to maintain your sidewalks in the wintertime. And speaking of maintaining, what type of car do you need when you live here in Idaho in the wintertime? Some people opt for the full-on four-wheel drive. If you get a four-wheel drive, that doesn't mean four-wheel braking at the same time. So you just got to take it slow, pump the brakes, and make sure that you come to a nice stop because there is black ice. It might not have snow, but you do get some black ice. So you just want to make sure that you're careful. Four-wheel drive vehicle isn't a must. It depends on what part of Idaho you move to. But an all-wheel drive will get you around just fine, whatever you're comfortable with. But definitely it's not required to move to Idaho. So I just want to touch on a few of those house issues that come up, and there's definitely more issues that we can address in this video. Just reach out to me and we can have that conversation, you know, of what else you need to do to prepare your home for winter or summer and just get it ready. So if you want to see more videos about the Boise area, maybe some home tours or neighborhood tours, please just subscribe to this channel so you never miss a beat, and we can make sure that you're getting all the videos we create about the Boise area for you. And then go click that playlist right here.